Guess what, friends? This episode of Not Too Deep is sponsored by our buddies over at Squarespace.
Woohoo!
They say a dream is just a great idea that doesn't have a website yet.
Very profound.
Make it a reality with Squarespace. Squarespace makes it easy to turn your idea into a unique website. You can showcase your work. You can blog or publish content, even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks. And with 24/7 award-winning customer support, you can customize everything from look and feel to settings and products using beautiful templates created by world-class designers. And there is nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. So head to squarespace.com for your free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code GRACE, my name, GRACE, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Hi, Jack Ferry.
Hi, Grace Helbig. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm very excited for this episode of Not Too Deep. Not that I'm not ever not excited.
Yeah, but this is a very good episode.
We have, if you guys can't already tell from the title, we have Mayim Bialik on, which I always think I'm saying her name wrong, which I'm sure is just everyone's par for the course.
I think that's right. Mayim Bialik.
Mayim Bialik.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
She was absolutely incredible.
She really is.
So she's literally on vocal rest, but took time off of vocal rest to come hang out and just talk to us for a straight hour. So that's a trooper.
Yeah, God bless.
And she also just does so much effortlessly good things for the world and for herself. And like just her introspection is really cool. And this episode, for warning, for a good thing, got kind of deep in a really great way.
It's interesting too, because she's one of these people that I'm like, how do you find the time to blog, write multiple books, be a neuroscientist, mother, and actor on a very successful sitcom.
On like the #1 comedy sitcom right now. Yeah,
and also a YouTuber.
And just grounded and normal and very cool at the same time. It's very inspiring. I was very nervous to talk to her because she is so intelligent.
Yeah.
But you know that she's intelligent, but she, like, I can't say another word other than grounded. She's just cool and she doesn't like...
Approachable.
Yeah. It was really, really wonderful. So that's coming up. But first, let's talk about the Earth. Earth Day is coming up on April 22nd. So we want to talk about the ways that you can take care of the Earth, which we did... We talked about this on This Might Get with Mamrie and I a little bit. We talked about recycling and just went through like how...
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy. How you can't like recycle shredded paper.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
There's a lot of really specifics on how you can recycle. And also like there's a lot of easy ways to recycle. But you know, certain types of paper, certain types of string. It was...
like wet paper. Can't recycle wet paper.
Can't recycle wet paper. All that stuff. So really fun. But also I like Earth Day because it's just a friendly reminder that, take care of the place that you're trying to survive on.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
It's an important moment in time, I think, to make sure that we continue to try to pivot and make sure that we're actually doing all we can. Watch the docs. I don't we're not a fact-based podcast for you.
We're pure emotions on Not Too Deep.
That's true. That's true. What do you think you do, Jack, on a regular basis that's like good for, that you're conscious of? I don't shower. So that's my contribution.
I try to take short showers. I started counting to 100 when I take a shower.
Oh, yeah.
Like in my head, for two reasons. One, not to waste water, but also to hurry the fuck up because I take way too long to get ready in the mornings.
I've never been a long shower. Brooks does. He'll sit down in the shower for like a half hour and I'm in and out in 2 minutes.
I love the feeling of hot water on my body, so I would if I could, but I just so that's something that I try. Like I'm much more aware. I think also especially living in Los Angeles, aware of how I use water.
Yeah.
You know, like turning off the faucet when I'm shaving, between, cleaning off the brush or cleaning off the razor or brushing my teeth, etc. So I'm much more aware of that. I know that I could do better.
Yeah.
I think also the thing about Los Angeles too, which is you suddenly realize how many freaking cars there are.
Oh yeah. When you fly into Los Angeles, you can visibly see a haze that exists over the city because of air pollution.
Yeah, I believe that is called smog.
Smog.
Yeah, it's bonkers. And so I think that's something that we definitely need to do better about. But honestly, like, you and I are both from New York.
Yeah.
And what was so great about that city is, as much as we love to complain about the MTA, the subway is pretty great.
Oh, public transportation is something that's sorely missed in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's like really bad. And like
they have it, but it's very, very inefficient.
Limited.
Yeah.
Like you can get pretty much anywhere you need to go in New York via the transit system pretty reliably, fairly quickly. Yeah, it's an old system, so it's like it breaks down a lot and it's often really slow, especially on nights and weekends, but you can still pretty much get anywhere you need to get.
Yeah.
Here, if there's traffic, you're just screwed.
Yeah.
Like, there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah. That's why my brother will never move out of Boston or that area because he doesn't want to own a car.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that environmental responsibility.
Have you ever tried driving in Boston? Driving in Boston is even worse than here.
Can't even imagine.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All those old, like, colonial streets.
Oh, yeah. No thanks. But yeah, he's really conscious of his carbon footprint and doesn't want to contribute to it. So kudos, Tim. You're better than me once again.
I mean, I was thinking about getting like a fuel efficient car, but I actually thought I could solve hit two birds with one stone if I get a motorcycle. Which are very, much more fuel efficient. You can get many more miles to the gallon because, it's a bike with just you and your backpack.
Yeah.
And also, I can avoid more traffic by going around cars.
Oh, man. I honestly, for the first time, I've always been kind of scared of motorcycles. And for the first time this year, weirdly enough, I was like, what if I got a motorcycle? That'd be cool.
We should start a motorcycle gang.
Well, now we're getting off of the main topic of Earth Day, but
we can start running guns. This is great. Have you watched Sons of Anarchy? This is perfect.
I've seen clips. They ride their motorcycles.
Yeah.
I can see you taking many selfies in front of a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can't you?
On the motorcycle,
Absolutely.
Next to the motorcycle.
It's an aesthetic for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, let's make Earth Day every day.
Yes, Earth Day is coming up, and so we think it's important for us to just, remind you guys. Sure, you're going to see it all over social media anyway, but it's important, I think, to have a day every year. Hopefully, people are conscious more than one day a year, but just as a little friendly wink, wink, nudge, nudge from Mother Earth saying, hey, take care of me. I take care of you.
It's great that we have a day where it's we're sort of forced to think about it because I think a lot of us do. I think, and it's helped me think about ways to be just even more conscious of the way I consume and recycle, etc. Yeah,
I think it's great. So happy Earth Day to everyone out there.
Yep. Happy Earth Day to the Earth.
And we'll just get into it because one of the most conscious people I've met in a long time is Mayim Bialik.
Yes.
And so let's just jump right into this interview with Mayim Bialik and all the ways that she is wonderful. And she probably hates that we are saying things like that because she's very, very humble in a way that is so sweet.
It's like alarming how humble she is. It's like, you're extremely successful. You should have an enormous ego.
No, and she doesn't. And I think she would panic if she ever did or even started to. So we're just now fangirling and going all over this wonderful human. So let's jump right into Not Too Deep with Mayim Bialik.
Not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Support for today's show comes from our good buddies at Squarespace.
Whee! The crowd goes wild.
Think it, dream it, make it with Squarespace.
Wow, that sounded very Kanye West of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. With the beautiful templates that they have that are created by world-class designers, Squarespace makes it easy to turn your idea into a new and unique website.
You can customize everything from look and feel to settings and products. All of it optimized for mobile right out of the box.
They got you covered.
With built-in SEO, search engine optimization.
Yeah, look, you can showcase your work. You can blog or publish content. You can announce a special project. You can even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks.
Then you can use Squarespace's analytics to help you grow in real time.
And if you're concerned at all, there is nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever.
But if you do stumble and you've got a question, no big deal because Squarespace's award-winning 24/7 customer support is there to help you out.
And Jack has experience because he's built many a website via Squarespace and
That's correct.
You haven't had any issues.
I haven't so far, but it's nice to know it's there in case I do.
So keep dreaming, but make it a reality with a website from Squarespace.
Head on over to squarespace.com for your free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code GRACE, GRACE, to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
That's squarespace.com, offer code GRACE.
Thanks, buddies.
Thanks, friends. We're set.
We are good.
Sweet. We're here with Mayim.
Hey.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I was doing a deep dive into all things Mayim yesterday. and I realized that you use social media pretty heavily.
I do. You sound surprised.
No, I'm always surprised. Well, because I and we could chat about this a little bit. Have to kind of balance. I love and I'm addicted to my phone, probably in a negative way. But I always find that a lot of people, especially that are more in the traditional space or just have roots in the traditional space, don't use social media as much. And when I was looking up your stuff, I was like,
I think that's a nice way of saying like old people usually don't do it.
It's a nice way of saying I relate to you because I'm like, she's all over her gram today. Look at this. I saw your green juice this morning. I was like, she is really, and I loved it because it made me feel like, oh, I know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, I'm one of those people who's really like, obviously known for being on TV or whatever. But also, you know, in the time between being a child actor, which I was, I took 12 years off.
Right.
And then I came back.
To school.
I went to school. But during the time that I was off from the industry, that's actually when I started writing and blogging in the early days of mommy blogging.
Right.
And this was literally like when I wrote for Kveller, when it was just like starting up. So I actually sort of cultivated a voice for having opinions about things that I had opinions about.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. That was before people were on Twitter. It was before Instagram even existed. So it's kind of funny that I've found a way to kind of combine that with more of the modern, social media. I was never on MySpace. Like, that wasn't my thing.
Where were you blogging? Were you on Tumblr?
No, I was blogging. Honestly, I was blogging for Kveller. And then like the Today Show would ask me to write pieces on parenting,
really?
like just like random kind of newsy things where they love to be like, Mayim Bialik doesn't spank her children. Oh my God, you know? So like that became
titles.
a thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's true. Like, I don't spank my children. So that became, you know, a thing. And then, you know, I wrote a book on being a parent, which I wasn't looking like, again, this was before the internet was like even a way to sell your book. Like that's what's so funny. So it feels like I've sort of, you know, hit this intersection of like, the thoughts that people care to hear me talk about, and then a world of social media where there's like this platform for it. But I think what's really neat about my love for social media is that even though people think of me as like serious and cerebral, and I write deep things, and I, you know, make these YouTube videos about like all these things that are controversial, and Fox News picks them up, I'm actually also like a normal person. Like, that's what I mean. I think things are funny when I see them, or like trees are pretty, and so like I really like the format of Instagram. I also, you know, I have a big following on Facebook, which tends to be my,
ask, like, where do
demographic, but it's just different. You know,
where do you find yourself? So right now I'm a big Twitter, Instagram person, but it fluctuates obviously as like everything kind of, you know, evolves. But do you spend most of your time on Instagram and Facebook?
I would say that Instagram is where, like, that's sort of. If I were to put something on my homepage, I don't have any social media on my homepage of my phone because I feel like it's like a conscious way to not make that my go-to.
That's very smart.
But if I were to choose one, it would be Instagram. Okay. Because also it's the way that I see, you know, the people that I follow. Right. It's how I see their lives and their world. Twitter, I have spent a lot of time on Twitter, but you know, to be perfectly honest, it was not good for my blood pressure.
Twitter can be very toxic.
It was very bad for me. Yeah. And I'm part of what's wrong with Twitter in that, you know, especially with politics. Like, I was like getting into it with people and then it just like, it can become so hostile and dirty. Then it was just making me feel yucky.
Very quickly too.
Yeah, like knee-jerk nasty.
Yeah. And then, you know, and I had an experience where I wrote a piece for the New York Times, which was very well received by most people.
Yeah.
And very poorly received by a small portion of very vocal people. Which I totally get. And like the apology I issued was so heartfelt because, but that really shifted my concept as it has for a lot of us, that like one thing lifted out of context then gets picked up by people who haven't even read the original thing. And then it just takes off.
It's wildfire.
And that was really hard. So Facebook is the place where I post videos and I post kind of like, you know, deeper thoughts or bigger pieces. My website, Grok Nation.
Right.
Like, I use Facebook to kind of promote articles that I've written or that other writers have written that I think our audience would like. Yeah. But most of my engagement comes from Facebook. And that's sort of what like my team has found in their stats. Yeah. Is that like I both have a lot of like interest in like the fun things and like a lot of followers on Instagram, but also a lot of engagement from people who also want to talk about deep stuff. That's old people things, you know.
But that's great. I think that's a nice balance, right? Is because it makes you approachable and I think makes you more fun to follow, is that you do have these deep, profound thoughts on things, but then you also are like, here's my lunch.
Right.
And without like, here's presented without comments.
Yeah, and I'm also a geek, which, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you play a geek on TV. No, I'm a genuine nerd and a geek. Those are two different things. So yeah, a lot of my life, especially like as a mom of two geek boys, you know, a lot of my life is about all the geek things I'm into and comic book stuff and superhero stuff and
that's
Star
awesome.
Wars. And yeah, and so for me, like Instagram is fun for that, you know?
Is there someone that you follow that's like a guilty pleasure to follow? Like I follow a wide variety of animals on Instagram. I had to unfollow Mr. Pokey, this hedgehog that travels the globe.
Too much promotion.
No, he was amazing.
Too much merch.
It was a lot of merch.
Yeah.
A lot of merch. And then he started doing Diff eyewear sunglasses promotion. I was like, he's a hedgehog, guys. Come on. And I had to
know your brand.
But I do check in every now and then just to make sure he's still doing it.
I have followed different animals, but I did like I've cut back. I don't follow that many people,
which is healthy.
And I think also like it makes it more manageable.
Yeah.
But I love Rhett and Link.
Oh, they're great.
And I love following them because a lot of times their stuff, you know, sometimes it's like literally like the smile in my day is following them. I'm trying to think. I follow that guy. I don't know what his full name is. He does all the photos. He redoes photos when people send in requests. Jamie. His name's Jamie.
Yes, he does like the fashion photos. Yes.
But he redoes things. And I just posted one the other day and a guy was in like a superhero costume and he said, can you make me look like a real superhero?
Yes,
and the photoshopping was, he made him like, you know, giving like feeding a woman in like a senior center. So he usually does like really like bizarro things. But when he did that one, I was like, this gets a repost. So that's kind of like, I love that. And I used to follow some of the other ones, but then a lot of the like controversy of like, who's stealing what? And I didn't want to be part of the problem.
You're like, I'm removing myself. That makes so much sense. And you said Grok Nation is the website that you've started that's like a lifestyle almost.
Right. So I started it in 2015 because I wanted a place where I could write about more things than I had been writing about, because pretty much I've been writing about like parenting, which is great, and Jewish things, also fine. But, you know, I write about a lot of other things. So my friend, and he's also my partner, not life partner, my business partner, Emmanuel Shalev, he really encouraged me to start my own place to share things without, you know, other people making money off of my things. Like,
that's fair.
I'm not making money off my things now, but at least no one else is.
But I think but you get to create your own ecosystem, right?
Right. And so what we did is we, you know, for 2 years, we've had a great time. We've had a lot of we've built a really nice community of people who want to think a certain way, but we rebranded and we didn't, I mean, you can already see from the way that I'm dressed today, my lifestyle is not really like a typical celebrity lifestyle. So what we did is we've rebranded. We have our editor is Christina Kelly, who used to be the editor for Sassy and worked with Jane, and she's really awesome. And she's known me since I'm, 14.
Yeah.
And so she rebranded us, or we rebranded together to make it more of like a, what if you lived your lifestyle like you're just like a kind of a normal geek person who happens to live in Hollywood and be an actor. So that's what our lifestyle is.
I think that's great. And honestly, it must be so refreshing for you to not have to put anything on or like try to create this illusion that you are someone that you're not in a way.
And we're like, we're talking like, I'm not really a fashion person. And so like our lifestyle aspect of fashion is about recycled fashion and hand-me-downs.
That's awesome.
And like not having to buy fashion 3 times a year, which is what I didn't even know that most women do this in the world.
But that's, I think, such an underserved like community of young women that you're giving them permission that the things that they probably already have seeds planted in their head of like how they want to be gets confirmed that, oh, there's a whole bunch of people like me out there.
Exactly.
I get a lot of comments on videos and stuff from young women that are like, you're like my awkward older sister, which is very strange and like makes me uncomfortable sometimes. But then when I think about when I was like 15 or 16, having someone that kind of personified all the awkward, weird, silly, but also still kind of like interested in fashion, but from this point of view, it would have been wonderful to have that kind of viewpoint. And I think that's
like, to me, like that's one of the amazing, wonderful things about the world that we're living in. Like as much as I kind of like hate the hatred that comes like with politics and all this stuff. Like, I didn't know, like I would have liked to know women like you, when I was a teenager, because I felt really isolated and I felt really alone. I was weird and I'm still weird.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have felt as alone. And so that's what I really think, especially about, voices like yours and like different kinds of female voices being put out there. It's no longer this like fringe thing. It's a welcome fringe thing.
Yeah. Is that how you found yourself getting into YouTube? Because I was watching some of your videos and they're really wonderful because they are, you were a child actor and people know you from Blossom and X, Y, and Z. And so seeing someone that is from your history doing YouTube, people could probably be like, what's she doing?
Right.
But your videos
Sometimes I wonder that.
We all do, trust me. We're all, why am I clicking this button on in my house by myself right now with my dog?
Right.
But they just feel very natural and they feel very like, were you watching YouTube videos and then just decided that you kind of want to explore that space?
No, so this is all really the crafting of my best friend who, we basically formed this business together.
Yeah.
And we call him Emu. And Emu was a big, he's 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
And he was a big YouTube person. And he was watching all these videos and he was seeing all these things. And he really believed from my writing and from how he got to know me as a person that like, there are things that I could say that other people aren't saying.
Yeah.
And in addition, his interest was in me as sort of a female geek.
Yeah.
And that's not really out there. A lot of times when that's out there, it's like, I'm a sexy geek. Like, I'm going to take off my clothes and explain chemistry. And like, that's not, which is fine. Like, with all due respect for the people who want to do that, that's fine. But he really felt like there's something for me to say. I did not agree with him. I mean, literally, I was like, no, people are annoyed by me all the time. Like, my boyfriends have always been annoyed by me. My husband was like, I got divorced. He was annoyed with my kids. They're annoyed with me. But he really encouraged me to write and to kind of cultivate a comfortability with this knowledge that there are people out there who want to hear what I'm saying about being alienated, feeling different, not fitting the mold of traditional women, or then like being traditional and other women saying that I'm too traditional. Like he just felt like that's you and you should put it out there. And I think one of the neat things that, I've discovered and that I think is a specific challenge for women is like, even more so than men, whoever they are, want to like put us in the box. You know, like who are you? Who are we going to market to? And even with my website, it was like, oh, you're going to be a women's site and we're going to make it all pink. And it's like, no, like I don't have to pick. Meaning some days I want to post on Instagram about the straw that won't stand up straight, and other days I want to talk about like, human trafficking because like that's really important to me. And as women in particular, I don't know why we're expected to have to pick.
Right.
Like sometimes I'm silly and goofy with my kids and sometimes we talk about like the riots in Detroit in 1967 and it's very important, Like all those things can exist in one person. And that's sort of what my YouTube channel is. Yeah, like it's all over the place.
I think that's great. And that's, what makes YouTube awesome is like that authenticity of someone being a real person that's multifaceted that literally is like, today I'm talking about my bowels and tomorrow I want to talk about gun control. And like, it's just how you are thinking.
I actually haven't done a video on bowels. I'm going to take that.
It's pretty popular.
No, you make note.
It's pretty, people and their digestive systems.
Well, I'm vegan. I got a lot to say.
Oh yeah, you are vegan.
And we love to tell people we're vegan, right? That's what they say about us.
I mean, that's the stereotype. But I have like friends that are vegan that are pretty lax about it. They're smart and very like, have their reasons why. Like Mayim for one is vegan, and she'll have a conversation if you want to, but she won't force a conversation.
No, for sure.
I think that's kind of a good way to
force conversations about everything else, not vegan.
But I did see on your Instagram that you recommended this documentary that confirmed your veganism, right?
Oh,
was that the one with Penn and Teller?
Yeah, so Eating You Alive.
Yeah.
I actually follow them also because they have fun cartoons about veganism. But yeah, they did. And Samuel Jackson, who like, I didn't even know he was a vegan. When you're a vegan, you love to watch all these documentaries.
Sure.
Like, and I recommend, even if you're not vegan, like Future of Food and Food Inc. and Forks Over Knives and The Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Like, these are all wonderful things that we all should watch.
Yeah.
But Eating You Alive, there's a lot of people who do like a completely oil-free diet.
Wow.
And it's unbelievable. But the documentary, the reason it's so cool is that it goes to places in the country you would never think people would want to be vegan. Meaning it goes to Middle America and it goes to the South. And it talks specifically to medical doctors and people who have medical conditions that they were told you need 20 different pills for, who switched to a vegan diet and in most cases an oil-free diet and literally got off all the medications that they were on.
Really?
And Samuel Jackson is one of these people. And Penn and Teller, like, it was amazing. Wow. And
that's
not that it makes a difference to hear it from celebrities, but to hear it from people who you think you know, or you think you know that, or you picture them like with chefs and that their life is great.
Right, you hold in this high regard.
Right, but like, no, Samuel Jackson had like aches in his knees and like he had hypertension, you know? And he talks about like the changes in his diet and how it varied with like when he was working on Avengers, like he started eating poorly and all of his problems came back. Like, it's a fascinating documentary.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you would think is more common sense about like what you put in your body changes how your body operates in the world. But it's something completely ignored because the mouth tastes great when it's got salt and oil.
And it's like the fact that some people are like, oh, when I eat pizza, I have diarrhea. Like that means it's not good for your body.
You shouldn't put that. I know. My boyfriend gets Taco Bell all the time and then literally has to like sprint home. And I'm like, there's a disconnect between what is good about this situation.
This is not a way to live. Like we're in a Western industrialized country. You don't need no.
You can change this for yourself. Oh, that's so funny. Now you've like you said, you took a break and you went to school and then you came back and you kind of was the transition coming back into acting immediate or was it kind of a slow roll? And what was that? How did that feel?
It was a slow, sad roll. I had a toddler and an infant.
Jeez.
And I had no health insurance anymore.
Okay.
Because what happens when you leave graduate school is you get a certain amount of health insurance.
Right.
And then they cut you off.
Yeah.
And if you don't then have income like a normal person, it's problematic. So I was teaching, I was tutoring. I taught neuroscience for 5 years after getting my degree. I was driving, literally to Venice Beach to tutor a kid for, $25 an hour in Hebrew. I was teaching piano. Like I was doing a lot of things. My husband at the time, he was finishing grad school. Like we were doing our best.
Yeah.
And I figured, if I can just even get a small role on something to get even the minimal Screen Actors Guild health insurance.
Which is great health insurance.
Which is really good health insurance, especially if you get plan 1. I was even going for plan 2. Because I had a toddler and a newborn.
Yeah.
So I started auditioning for things and it was a very slow roll because most of the casting directors, A, didn't remember me from Blossom because they were not born yet when I was on it. And B, I never expected to, be welcomed back into the industry because I was a child actor on a family sitcom.
Right.
Like people are like, you had to audition? It's like, yes. Like people have no idea if I can even act. Like, sure, I was like fine when I was like 16. But so I started auditioning for literally, characters that didn't even have a name because you're just called in for whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm usually called in for, it's called Submit All Ethnicities, which is the way the industry at the time means send people who are not typically cast as leading lady types.
Okay.
And in particular, women who are not skinny.
Okay.
Because at a size 6, I am considered zaftig.
That is
so yeah.
insane.
So I would, and it's fine, like it's totally fine. Like those are the parts that I would be called in for. So yeah, I just started auditioning for things. I had like literally 6 lines on Bones. I did an episode of Saving Grace, like
Perfect.
just random.
Yeah.
And then I was literally called in for a show that I had never seen called The Big Bang Theory to play a female version of a person I had never heard of, Sheldon. You know. So that's how that happened.
Amazing. Did you know anyone on the show beforehand?
Johnny Galecki and I. Johnny Galecki was on Blossom when we were both kids.
Yeah, I read somewhere that was your first on-screen kiss or something.
Johnny Galecki was my second on-screen kiss. I think it was his first, though.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of sweet. Yeah.
What a hilarious full circle in a weird way.
So yeah, so he and I, we had the same agent when we were kids. So we kind of ran in the same circles. But no, I mean, Jim Parsons, that was his first pilot,
Yeah.
No, I didn't know anybody. Like, I didn't watch TV in the years that Kaylee Cuoco was very famous on television. Like, I was in college or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And it must feel like a family over there. I mean, it seems you guys, how much on average time when you guys are shooting do you spend in each other's presence?
More than with my own family.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the truth. We're with each other really more than we're with our own families. So our schedule's really, really great. You know, sitcom is a very good schedule. We film in front of a live audience. So we really rehearse, we rehearse all week.
Which is super fun. I went to a taping.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
We're kind of a good time live.
I mean, it's like, it's interesting because it's a lot like theater. Because they shoot in order, which was shocking to me. I was like,
I think you were telling me this before.
Yeah, I expected them to just let's just shoot out this one set and then we'll move over to the other set. But they don't. They take the time to move.
We tell you a story.
Which I love. Because I thought it was all just look, this is for the cameras. You guys are kind of performers with us, so laugh when it's appropriate to laugh. But it wasn't the case.
That's really cool.
So they would go to the trouble of moving to different sets and then coming back to sets so they could shoot it in order. And like when there was the episode that I saw was like where you guys like recreated a prom. And so like there was all this like pre-tape stuff like in like a limousine and stuff like that. And they would like show us the video.
So you guys could see how it would play out.
So we saw the whole show unfold, which is really cool. So it was a lot like going to the theater.
That's really fun. And then you guys as audience members have authentic reactions to things.
Yeah. And we were like laughing at jokes because they were funny, not because we knew they were supposed to be punchlines.
Something most people don't know about, which you probably realized, if things don't get laughs, they get rewritten.
Yeah, that happened a couple times.
Yeah, so when people,
that must be so intense.
It can be intense.
Yeah,
but I think it really shows kind of the power that Chuck Lorre really believes in of the live audience, that even if our writers think something's funny, it doesn't matter, because that audience, those 200,
they will tell you,
they are representative of most people. They're not representative of our writers. That's who's watching our show. So even, I mean, just last night's taping that we did, there were 2 jokes that were literally my favorite jokes. The audience did not understand them. They were cut.
Yeah, sure, that happens.
I said to Steve Holland, who's our showrunner, I was like, it wasn't even my joke. I was like, I love that joke of Kaylee's. And he's like, we do too, but they don't get it. It was a joke about jazz, and the audience was too young to know that. Oh, no. Yeah, the joke was that like, oh, jazz is great. You get to hear all the notes at once. Like,
That's great.
That's funny.
That's great.
Audience was like, nothing, no. So it got cut. Like,
oh, man.
Yeah, that must create some fun relationship issues with like just learning to let go of everything constantly.
And also it's stressful because your castmate might be given a paragraph that they have to learn. You need to be patient with that too.
Right.
Like, it's given on the spot.
Have you had any standout, awkward, or just like kind of unintentionally hilarious moments with the live audience being there?
You just gave me a really big setup. Like,
well, I just imagine.
I don't know about hilarious.
Because how do they? I mean, we've had an audience.
I
right?
facilitated a proposal.
Did you?
Yes, and a former student of mine from when I was a graduate teacher at UCLA asked if he could bring his girlfriend and propose to her at our taping.
Whoa.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That was pretty awesome. And like, we brought them down after the show, and he proposed on the couch in Sheldon's spot.
Oh,
it was pretty awesome.
Got chills.
Yeah,
it was
so
really
cute.
fun.
And we had another person propose literally like with the studio audience, like with Mark Sweet, who's our, what's it called?
He's the warm-up guy.
The warm-up guy. Yeah. We had a proposal there. Yeah. They were from Mexico. That was a really fun story too.
That's super fun.
But my former student, that was pretty exciting. That I got to like arrange it, and it was a secret from her, and I held the ring, and I took out the ring for her.
You held the ring?
So
God, I'd be like, you got to handle the ring. That's the one part that I will lose, and I don't want to. But that's so much fun.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So cool. You're working on a new book?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you? Is I
can
secret?
talk about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I had a book come out last year called Girling Up.
Yes.
And it was basically the book I wish that I had when I was a teenager. It was all about everything from like puberty to dating to like, why are my emotions crazy? How do I manage them as a female in this culture?
Yeah.
And it was on the bestseller list, which we were really excited about. And so I wrote Boying Up about my experience not only as a neuroscientist with my, knowledge of the neuroendocrine system and how boys develop and puberty and all that fun stuff, but also as a mom of 2 boys.
Yeah.
And as a woman who's primarily friends with men.
Yeah.
I wrote a book about the male experience from that perspective with input from men as well. So that comes out in May, also by Penguin.
That's super
And it's
cool.
exciting. My boys and I are on the cover as like a superhero family. All of us
of
us in capes and little superhero masks.
Have they read any of it?
So I just gave it. So my 9-year-old's a little bit on the younger end.
To understand neuroscience, I imagine.
You'd be surprised. If I'm
he's
your mom,
son,
he already knows the different versions of the spinal cord. Yeah. No, but my older son, he read Girling Up. He was my first proofreader to see if I kind of had the language right for that age.
That's great.
I think he's a little more nervous to read Boying Up. He's already heard most of it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. Like, it's talk all about penises in one chapter and puberty, which, usually like we have to space it out when he has questions. Like, So this is like chapter 1 it's hefty.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, he's going to make his way through it. And, it's literally written for his age.
That's what I was going to say. Who's the target demo?
It's like 10 to 18.
Oh, that's great.
But just just like growing up, it wasn't just 10 to 18-year-old girls that bought it. You know, it's for parents. And in particular, we think Boying Up will probably appeal to moms in particular. Because you don't want to raise boys who are the way you think boys should be. You want to raise boys who are who they want to be. Yeah. And in our culture especially, it's like you don't want them to be like too sensitive or too violent or, you know, it's a lot. So,
and there's a lot of mixed messaging that happens in social media,
for boys especially.
Oh, it's very confusing right now.
Yeah, that they just have this influx of information and don't do this or do this.
Yeah.
Correct. Like, and I can imagine be overwhelming. That's why I always say, like, I'm so glad that when I went to high school, I didn't have internet, really. It was just starting.
I thought you were going to say, I didn't have a social life, and that helped too.
That too. That was also why I was glad there was no internet, because I didn't have anything to post. But it was, I can't imagine now with how, like, the way the world works, how intense it is for people. But that's also something that my mom used to say, that she wishes that there was like a guide that she could have given us growing up that would be slightly more articulate than what she was.
Well, I got really nothing. My mom was raised very, very religious, very traditional, and her solution was to not talk about anything with me. And she lucked out in that I was very awkward and unusual and was not looking to find out information on my own either. I was a very late bloomer, which again worked in her favor. She was like, oh great, we never have to talk about anything because like you're 18 and you still look like a 12-year-old. It's fine. So yeah, I really did I needed what I hope this book provided. And what I've heard is that it's a really good conversation starter. That's great. You know, girls tend to read books in that age, that kind, more than boys do. But Boying Up is it really can be a tool for dads too.
That's
you know,
awesome.
Because it opens up conversations about what's expected of you as a man. You know, I talk about kind of that journey, that hero journey that is normal for all of us to take. But in particular, that's a very special journey for boys to explore and to conquer and to bring back what they've found. And
it's such a difficult thing to like navigate right now, because there's all this obviously talk about like toxic masculinity and what it is to be a man, and you know, raise boys the same as girls, etc. And it's just it feels like such a confusing time.
Yeah, and I'm a scientist, so like there are differences, like certain, you know,
course,
that's what like, and that's one of my points of the book. Like emotions are not different between men and women. The way we process them and the way we communicate them is different. But men feel sadness and rage and shame and fear just like women do. It just doesn't always look the same, but there's a way to also foster that so that boys feel heard and understood, but also not expected to be, quote, just like women.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's interesting too because of like the hormonal differences between men and women are so
yeah,
profound.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like the more I read and learn about like testosterone and the way it affects. I know because like you know how a lot of scientists were saying that they're worried about AI and it's like its potential to turn on humanity. And there were some AI creators, I guess, programmers that are just like, you know, intelligence isn't inherently destructive. Testosterone is. And I was like, that's such an interesting thing to say. I mean, I know he was saying it to sort of be flip, but I think that's an interesting thing because it's like, that's true though. Like a lot of our aggression doesn't come from our intellect. It comes from our hormones saying, rage now.
Well, it also comes from like the social construct that we are all living in, you know? So like, I don't mean to sound like a crazy person when I say we're all living in patriarchy, but we are. Like we're living in a culture that was really formed, you know, for a lot of, quote, legitimate reasons, you know, by a male-dominated society because for tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, like our culture was structured a certain way because of biology. So I think we're also like, we're living in an adaptation of that and trying to find our place. And I think for men in particular, it can be really, really hard.
Yeah, for sure. Are you going on book tour with this book?
Yes, I am going on book tour. It's a smaller tour than you might think. I'm not like getting in a van. I'm you know. but
see you in Sheboygan.
Me and my boys. Just in a van. I'll be in New York.
Cool.
You know, like Good Morning America and Colbert are really, really awesome places to talk about this book. And then a bunch of other places. And then, you know, I come back to LA. So yeah, as of now, I'm doing New York and LA because also it fits into like my other work and filming and life schedule. But yeah, it's exciting.
Very cool. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to ask some Twitter questions. We got a lot of really, really good ones. So we'll be right back with Mayim after this.
Not too deep.
Today's episode of Not Too Deep is sponsored by Talkspace, the online therapy company that lets you message a licensed therapist from anywhere at any time.
Yeah, listen, can't imagine fitting anything else into your life. Well, with Talkspace, therapy is easy. It's as easy as sending your therapist a message. You get something off your chest whenever you need to.
You can talk about everyday challenges at work or at home, or just chat about your life. There's no extra commutes, no leaving the office, and no judgments.
Yeah, all you need is a computer with an internet connection or the Talkspace mobile app, and you can improve your mental health.
Remember that therapy isn't just about venting your innermost thoughts or digging into childhood memories. It's also about practical, everyday strategies for stress management and living a happier life.
Having a therapist simply provides you a designated person for you to talk to who is trained to listen and help you make positive changes. And the Talkspace platform has over 2,000 licensed therapists who are experienced in addressing life changes that we all face.
To match with the perfect therapist for a fraction of the price of traditional therapy, go to Talkspace.com/grace and use code GRACE to get $45 off your first month and to show your support for this very podcast.
Yeah, that's Grace, GRACE, and Talkspace.com/grace.
Not too deep.
Guess what? Avid listeners and possibly complete stranger, Not Too Deep is now becoming a live show once a month in Los Angeles. Obviously, we're still doing the podcast, but we are expanding and doing a live show right here in LA once a month. Our very first live show will be April 26th. That's a Thursday at 8 p.m. at a brand new comedy venue that's really awesome called Dynasty Typewriter. It's beautiful. Jack, give them the deets.
So it is indeed called Dynasty Typewriter. It is next to MacArthur Park in Los Angeles, if you know where that is. The address is 2511 Wilshire Boulevard, LA, California, 90057. And you can find all the information and how to get tickets, etc., in the show notes. But you can also just go to nottoodeep.com and we'll have a link to all that stuff. And we want to do this kind of regularly.
Yeah, we're going to be doing it the last Thursday of every month. But we really want you to come out to the first episode, technically, April 26th at 8 p.m. We have a guest TBD announcement.
Yes, but we wanted to let you guys know now so that you can start getting some tickets because it's going to be a very fun night. Grace and I had a great time recording the episode of the New York Comedy Festival with Eliza Schlesinger that we were like, this was fun enough that we should do this more regularly. So we found this amazing venue and we're very excited to bring back some live shows in front of a live audiences.
Woohoo! So if you're in Los Angeles, make sure you go to nottoodeep.com. Get those tickets, and we'll see you there Thursday, April 26th, 8 p.m. at Dynasty Typewriter. We're back with Mayim.
Hey.
Okay, so before we get into Twitter questions, I'm going to ask you the two questions I ask every single guest that's on the podcast. The first is...
I wasn't briefed about this. I will not be answering these. I'm just kidding.
We used to brief people on them, and then I get upset when we brief people because I'm like, I enjoy an authentic reaction to something. The first is, who in the world, alive or dead, would you most want to throw cold spaghetti at? And this can be interpreted a variety of ways.
My father died 3 years ago tomorrow. I would have loved to throw cold spaghetti at him. He would think that's awesome and funny.
That's very sweet. Okay, the other question I ask every guest is to tell us your worst pants shitting story or close call, but you can only use 3 words or 3 small phrases. So mine is college, jogging, front lawn.
Got it. Here's mine.
I like that you have an immediate memory.
Antibiotics.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm ready.
Does a phrase count or it has to be a word?
It can be a small phrase.
Okay. The floor of my children's bedroom.
Oh, no.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, what a no follow-up questions. What a festive time of year.
What a journey that story was.
I'm sure you and your sons had a very close relationship.
They were sleeping.
Mercifully.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, now we're going to move into some Twitter questions. The first one comes from 90s Forever. They want to know, who would Blossom be today?
That's a great question. I mean, she would be an older version of herself, but I'm assuming that's not the answer that he's looking for. I think that she would probably be, I would like to think something like a lawyer for justice.
Oh, I can see that.
I feel like Blossom might have turned into like that obnoxious girl in college who was like always like handing out flyers for something and then like became a lawyer for like, children's rights or like something really noble and really like engaged.
I can 100% see that.
Yeah.
Also
a stripper on the side.
No, just kidding. Just for balance. She's in touch with her sexual side too. Okay, Bay1185 wants to know, what silly things do you do with your kids, or what are the silliest things that they do?
Oh my gosh. We have a very silly house.
Oh, that's fun.
Well, when they were little, we did something before bedtime to kind of get the energy out, when they were toddlers. It was called naked running. And what it was after bath time, because that's often when like kids get kind of like activated and excited.
Oh, my dog does the same thing.
Right. Well,
not
but you don't
relate
have to,
your kids to my dog.
Well, they're pretty much the same. But you don't have to put dogs in like restrictive diapers / pajamas.
Yes.
So after bath time, it was just run around naked. And we would do that for like, not me, I would be fully clothed. But after naked running, they knew like, okay, naked running is done. Now we put on pajamas and we read books and we go to sleep.
That's great.
We're silly in different ways.
Yeah.
I'm like a sneak attack wrestler, which I'm much more into my jujitsu training than my children are.
There you go.
I studied jujitsu in college. And so sometimes out of the blue, I'll like take them out at the knees and like put them in a chokehold. And
that's so funny.
you learn very quickly that laughing can turn to crying, and you have to notice when a child starts crying.
Oh my goodness.
Mama, I can't breathe. That's my sternum. But they think that's pretty funny.
That's
but
great.
we're silly in general. I think a lot of people have remarked that, I interact with my children not like they're not children, but I speak to them like people.
Like humans.
And then I also let them hear me speak like a human. Cursing excluded. I try not to do that too much. But they hear me be playful and irreverent and confused about things along with them. And when I don't know something, I say, I don't know, or Mama, why? Why is this like this in the world?
You don't say just because.
Exactly. I'd never say because I said so. I want to say it all the time.
At least you're honest about that.
I am. I tell them, I'm like, I really want to say, stop talking. Mama doesn't want to talk about this.
I think that's great. I also think with the jiu-jitsu, it's just nice for them at this point in their lives. And who knows, because they're going to get bigger and you won't be able to take them out at the knees anymore.
They're going to need to defend themselves is really what I'm preparing them for.
Exactly. Okay, Lori, not Lauren, says, I met Miss Mayim at BookCon this past year and had a giraffe painted on my face. She told me it looked cool. Did she truly think that I, at the time 17-year-old woman, looked cool with my giraffe face painting? Note, there was glitter.
Well, if I hadn't remembered it, the glitter makes it cool for sure.
Exactly.
In general, I will actually single this instance out. I especially appreciate when girls who look quirky and fun embrace that in a way that I didn't necessarily have the confidence to.
Totally.
So I probably genuinely meant that that's cool.
Yeah. I mean,
and once you add glitter, like
done and done. If you're 17 years old walking around BookCon with a giraffe paint on your face,
done.
Yeah, that's a cool girl. I'm all for it. Okay, John Jones 002 says, being such an intellectual, have you ever had to school someone on the set of Big Bang? Are you a consultant for the writers, or are you given freedom to rewrite any inaccuracies?
So that's a no, and no.
Really?
Yeah. So generally, actors in particular don't like to be schooled by other actors.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, our writers do a terrific job of writing. Many of them have science backgrounds.
I was going to ask.
There's also this thing called Google, so you can look things up in a way that writers, didn't used to look things up.
Tell me more about this Google.
So you type in a word or a phrase. And it tells you what you really want to be typing in, and you click on that.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
No, so we do not have free reign to make things up. Sometimes we have a science consultant on the show. His name is David Salzberg. He's a physics consultant. Sometimes he and I will chat if there's stuff in Amy's lab that is more specific to neuroscience. Our science isn't always perfect. Sometimes we have to do things for entertainment or visual value.
Sure.
But yeah, the writers do a terrific job, and I'm I try and blend in as much as possible because, like I said, other actors don't like it when you're like, let me explain your line to you.
That's great. Okay, I'm super grateful. Wants to know, would you consider making some Broadway appearances in the future?
Not so much.
No.
I mean, I'm not a trained singer. I am a singer, but I'm not a trained singer.
Yeah.
The schedule of Broadway always really terrified me. And, I had my first kid at 29. And so that part of my life was really dedicated to being a mom and finishing my degree. And, my life just never really offered a timing opportunity to make the commitment to basically sleep most of the day.
Right.
And then, work every night. so, there's a lot that appeals to me about musical theater. I'm trained as a dancer, and and I love that musical theater combines so many of the things that I love to do. But, when I see any theater, really, I'm like, wow, those people are a gajillion times more talented than me.
It's so intense.
It's really, really intense. And I'm really not at that, level.
Unless don't cut yourself short.
Unless the Rockettes wanted me, which to dance in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in fishnets might be like a dream of mine.
A dream come true. We can make that happen. They're avid listeners of the podcast, so we can reach out. Blame Hockey 52 wants to know, did you get to keep the hats?
No.
Do people ask you that all the time?
Yeah, people ask me. Yeah, people do ask me that. But our show was a Disney show, a Touchstone show, and Disney is known for being very, very meticulous about cataloging all of the items that are used on TV shows and such. I'm going to say it right now, and they can come for me. I stole a shirt of David Lasher's. Blossom had this boyfriend, Vinny, who always wore these cool plaid vintage shirts. I stole one. It's still in my closet. I stole a pair of earrings also.
There you go.
They were not expensive, but I did steal them.
Do you feel better getting that off your chest?
I don't know. There could be cops waiting for me when I steal.
There could be repercussions.
Michael Eisner himself.
Yeah, and now the Blossom Museum won't be complete, unfortunately.
There is no Blossom Museum. I want to just state that in case, because you're going to start getting like...
You're going to be like, where is it? Where? I can't find it. Mythical Paul wants to know, what is the most brainiest thing you know? But I want to add on to that. If you, let's say hypothetically, you were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, who's the lifeline that you would call? Who's someone that you were like, they just know everything?
Gosh, I'm fortunate to have several people in my life who I would use as a lifeline, but I'm going to go ahead and say Eric Kaplan, who's one of the executive producers of Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
A very, very funny man, really amazing guy. Also, I follow him on Twitter because he's profound and really intellectually interesting. But he'd be my lifeline. He knows things no one should know.
Really?
And I mean, in terms of like the brainiest thing I know, I mean, when you do a thesis and you have to write like a 300-page book on literally one tiny thing.
I don't know what that's like, but I can imagine.
Well, but that's, I like to say that's the only thing I'm really an expert in. People often accuse me of like, she thinks she knows everything. I actually don't.
Yeah.
I'm an expert on literally one aspect of psychoneuroendocrinology. I'm an expert on my kids in that I mostly don't understand them. but yeah, otherwise I have a smattering of knowledge, but I know many, many people far, far more intelligent than I.
Is there an area, even in just pop culture or in just education, that you wish you knew more about?
American history.
Oh, really?
So I was schooled on set. I would go back to classes and school in between when I was on Blossom. But the class that I took in place of what was American history was more like a civics class.
Okay.
And it was helpful and I learned things, but the actual curriculum that I wish I had learned was what everybody got to learn when they were in school. And, I've filled in little things, but I've learned more from my children singing Hamilton than I should, because I literally, and of course my kids get to be so self-righteous. Yeah. What do you mean you don't know that there was no clue? What do you mean you don't know this, Mama? It's like, well, you didn't know until you saw the musical.
Yeah, exactly. Colleen X. Parker wants to know, strangest place you've woken up in?
My mind.
I haven't even done that yet.
I mean, I backpacked through Western Europe and then Israel and Egypt for 5 weeks in college.
Oh, cool.
And it was very cool. And I went to a very, very small island with my then boyfriend. We then got married. Now he's my ex-husband. But Mike and I went to this very small island. It was called Skanusa. With an Schinosa, Skanusa. And it was so far from the mainland. We were like, no one's going to be here. It's going to be awesome. We had reserved a hotel and we got there. Long story short, sometimes on the Greek islands, they give away your reservation if someone shows up with cash before you check in.
Really?
So we were stuck.
Oh, no.
We were stuck on a very, very small island that had no hotels for us to sleep in. And we ended up having to sleep on the beach. Now that sounds romantic. It was not.
That sounds terrible.
It was freezing. We made a barricade of chairs. And just as we were starting to, I was trying to fall asleep on this windy beach in Greece. We hear a band start up at 11 p.m. It was traditional night on the Isle of Skanusa, and the entire island had descended to the restaurant behind the hedges that we didn't even know was there.
Oh my God.
And then I started crying. And we could have been in any one of the hotels because everyone who was staying in them was
out there.
And that band played till 6 a.m.
Oh my.
Are you serious?
I'm completely serious. And then we were awoken, I ended up falling asleep a little bit. We were awoken to people, drunkly walking home at 6 in the morning. And then we forged our ferry ticket. Here's another illegal thing. We forged our ferry tickets. We got back on that ferry and we just went back to Athens and went to museums. So that was a strange place to wake up.
Wow.
On the beach in Skanusa.
That's such a great story, though.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Now I kind of want to go to that island.
Don't go on traditional night.
Yeah, I'll look that up first.
Bring cash.
Cassidy Ma wants to know, what's your favorite cat fact? Because you have a cat.
I have 4 cats.
You have 4 cats?
I'm a super cat lady.
What are your cats' names? I know Nermal.
We have Shadow and Nermal.
Okay.
Those are their litter mates.
Okay.
But one is very big and the other's the runt. So they're a very odd pair. Then I have Adamantium. She goes by Addie. She's a special needs rescue. She was born without a pectoral muscle. So when I got her, she had a surgery and a cast, but she seems to be very happy now without her cast. And then I have a very grumpy cat who hates them all, and her name is Frances. Hates her life.
Which one was first?
Frances.
Okay. Does that have anything to do with the behavioral issues of not having all the attention anymore?
Yes. Yeah. Turns out Frances wants to be an alone cat, but you only learn that after you adopt 3 kittens.
Whoops.
So your house is 2 boys and 4 cats.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a lot.
It's a lot of litter.
Yeah.
And the children will not change the litter.
Really?
So they do all the other kind of cat-related chores and things. And then I just keep adding chores. And when they're like, I don't want it. So, well, you don't change the litter. So now you're going to do the recycle too.
Have you ever try to walk a cat on the leash?
My hairless cat would walk on a leash.
Really?
A little bit, which was a sight to behold.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine that in my brain.
Like a rat on a leash.
Big rat. Did it enjoy it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he didn't want that. But in terms of what was the actual question?
What's your favorite cat fact?
Oh my gosh. There's so many. Just the fact that their tongue is practically made of sandpaper. It's just amazing.
That's always...
The fact that they clean all the time and they're like, if you have good clean cats, like just to think that they can clean themselves like that from licking their hands. And it's just so, I'm a crazy cat lady. And the runt cat that I have obviously is also a little special. He will turn anything into a nipple and nurse on it, including his brother's head.
Really?
He forms the fur on the back of his brother's head into a nipple shape, and he will knead on it. It's very odd.
Well, it's personality.
That's attachment issues right there.
There you go. In the truest, most obvious form. But do the 3 the kittens get along?
The kittens love their lives.
Aww.
And they love torturing the cat who hates them.
That sounds like a reality show.
Yep.
9 times wants to know, last thing you did that you were really proud of that wasn't work related.
I'm not. It's not like, I'm thinking of all the things I'm proud of that are work related.
No. It's a weird.
Just trying to
think of stuff that's not related.
To work. We just had Passover.
Yeah.
Because it's Passover, and I hosted both nights. I hosted a lot of people.
Oh wow!
And I also hosted lunch. So I hosted 13 people for lunch and for dinner, and then another dinner for 8 people, and then another lunch for 8 people.
Exhausting.
And I'm not proud of myself because I'm so amazing. But I'm proud that my house was pretty much a total mess. Meaning, everything that wasn't being used was just pushed aside. It didn't look perfect.
Yeah.
But people had a good time.
That's great.
And people came to our Seder who had never been to a Seder before. And I had a couple Jewish friends who hadn't been to one in many, many years. And it's just all these different people coming together. And that even though it was so imperfect, I didn't let that get in the way of being proud that people ate well and had a good time and learned something,
That's
even
awesome.
though it wasn't perfect.
But that's great. I mean, any social situation or gathering like that, it really trickles down from the host themselves. If a host is stressed out or worried in any way, then people feel it.
Yeah.
So
I was in an apron and slippers. That's my rule. I dress up and look nice, but I'm wearing slippers and a matzah apron.
Perfect.
I'm just dealing with it.
That's appropriate.
That's very appropriate. Okay, that gal online wants to know, please talk about your what not to wear experience, Howard, Stacey, and Clinton. Yeah, I read this. You were on an episode of What Not to Wear.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I did when I started like acting again.
Really?
Yeah.
I watched that show all the time growing up.
Yeah, don't make me feel old.
No, I mean, I was grown. Yeah, when I was grown, I watched it.
Yeah, I did What Not to Wear when my younger son was, gosh, he must have been maybe like 6 or 7 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was actually during Passover. I remember this because I couldn't eat anywhere except Passover restaurants in New York. Yeah, What Not to Wear. I actually just wrote an article for Grok Nation about they cut 6 inches off my hair.
Ooh,
and it's never really grown back. I don't blame them. But yeah, What Not to Wear, that's a real thing they do.
Yeah.
They really do come to your closet and they take everything, literally go through it. And I actually had a really, really positive experience. I had never seen the show, but they were really, really nice with me. And, I have a lot of sentimental clothing items.
Yeah.
Those things they let me keep.
That's good.
My grandmother's this and my great aunt's that and blah, blah, blah. It was overall a really good experience. They tweezed my eyebrows. It was for the first time in my life. I had never tweezed my eyebrows.
Really?
Yeah. So doing that on camera was pretty brave of me.
Yeah.
Like
as
that's
a woman,
it's kind of weird. And yeah, they actually dyed my hair darker and cut 6 inches off of it.
I mean, I can imagine stuff. I'm a little picky about, massive changes like that. And to other people, I'm sure it seems so subtle, but to you, you're like, this is an overhaul.
Yeah, I'm a no to change person. Some people are like a yes to change person. I'm a no to change person.
Well, I feel like in that experience, you're either going to have one or two outcomes where you're either happy and you feel a little bit more cleansed, or you're just deeply repressed and even worse off.
No, I think overall it was really positive. And I think it also helped me get back into the industry also in terms of framing, my brain.
Yeah,
because Stacey said to me, she's like, the literal goal is for you to look as skinny and sexy as possible at all times. And I was like, that's a terrible thing to say. But sure enough, after dipping a toe back in the industry, it's like, oh, that really is the currency of being female,
Yeah.
So, but you do have to kind of play that game too.
Yeah, confront that weird reality.
Yeah, I was wearing peasant dresses for 20 years before that. So.
Yeah, no, I wear sweatpants at all times.
Yeah.
It's amazing that I have jeans.
I mean,
on
we're
today.
naked now, which is something people may not realize because that's
my
the
method
right.
This
for
is why we do an audio
podcasting.
podcast.
Along that regard, the same person asked, "What is your most prized possession?"
Oh, wow.
If you happen to have one. Or are you a sentimental person?
Oh my gosh!
Really?
It's I think it's part of my diagnostic criteria. I mean, I have a lot of things I'm sentimental about. I have my grandfather's tefillin, which is it's a religious item that is used that religious men pray with every day.
Wow.
And they're it's so weird to describe. Like, Jews must sound crazy if people have never heard of this. The English word is phylacteries, and they're basically 2 boxes. One is placed in between your eyes and wrapped around, and the other's placed on your arm and wrapped around your arm. So when I was a kid, I would watch my grandfather do this process. It's there's a lot of mystical significance to it, and so I have them, and they're in a beautiful little velvet bag, and so that's something that I treasure very much. I know it's kind of a weird thing, but
no, I think anything that connects you to, your family is important. Do you have things already in mind that you want to pass down to your sons?
Yeah. I mean, I have 2. I also have my father's set. So my boys have already kind of talked about that.
Oh, that's cool.
And also my older son was named for my other grandfather. So they have the same initials.
Oh, gotcha.
And so there's a couple tie pins that, he already knows are his because they say MB.
Oh, nice.
And then I do have other things that have my other son's initials. That's also neat about naming, for people who have passed. You get that kind of, I feel like those are kind of their departments of the family.
Yeah, that's very sweet. You kind of already answered this, but I think it's important. Sexy Band Geek 35 says, I love your Twitter handle. I'm an 18-year-old trans boy. Am I allowed to read her book, Boying Up?
You can read either book and even both books.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually something I was asked when I wrote Girling Up. Someone asked me, we had a really cool Q&A forum in New York, and I think it was at the Google offices. And someone said, what if I don't identify, and I said, all of this information, I specifically talk in the book about gender and the complexity of gender, and how there are feminine men, there are masculine women.
Right.
There are people who feel that they're not born in the body that they want to be in. And that's something I actually talk about a little bit more in Boying Up. And especially because of like the dynamics of male culture and the pressures on men, I think that can even be, in some ways harder.
Yep.
So the point is that the book focuses on things that we traditionally associate with men.
Yeah.
But a lot of things in Boying Up, I really resonate with as kind of a masculine female.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's also the point. There's a lot of overlap. And now that we live in a culture and a society and a world where we're seeing gender more as a spectrum, I think it's healthier for all of us.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I also consider myself very much growing up a tomboy in a lot of ways. And so I think understanding that perspective is really helpful and like, I don't know, a relief in a way.
And I think also, it's important for girls to know about boy bodies and boys to know about girl bodies.
Yeah.
And all kinds of people, no matter how you identify, to understand just like the physiology of the human body is amazing. And it's important to know, there are things on the Y chromosome that are actually triggers for certain things to develop. And I also talk about hormonal, I don't want to say anomalies, but I talk about hormonal differences. There's a whole box dedicated to women who have, a Y chromosome. There are men who have 2 X chromosomes as well. Like there's all these different things, like all of those things occur in nature and they're meaningful.
Right.
They're meaningful hormonally. There are different hormonal profiles that have been found in research about, the homosexual brain. Like there's real science to this stuff.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's also just something to help you understand yourself, but also I can imagine would strengthen your interpersonal relationships with someone that you're like, this is how your body works.
For
I
sure.
thought you were just like being a bitch.
Right. And I think, and I actually talk about that in particular about, girls' periods. Like you don't need to know all the details, but you need to know enough to know that like you want to check with someone before, calling it on the rag.
Yeah.
Some girls don't want you to call it that, like respect that. But I think also this notion that like only girls need to know about everything or about emotions or about the kitchen. Boys need to know those things too.
Yeah.
Boys should know their way around the kitchen.
I wish I knew how to cook.
Right. And I was like, do you include? Yes, you include the section about cooking and preparing food.
Yeah. No, I think that's super important. So basically, we're saying all the books are for everyone.
Everything's for everyone.
Okay, we have a couple more questions really quick. Here's a fun one. Piggy Pie wants to know, favorite lesson learned since beginning a YouTube channel? I mean, I feel like it's a constant educational process.
It is a constant educational process. And I think that's what you have to learn. Like it's kind of like just when you think you figured something out, you're humbled because you don't. You think like, people want videos just with me dancing. And all of a sudden, no one wants to watch a video of me dancing.
Why are you doing this?
It's very zen. You have to be very zen, like no attachment. No attachment to success, no attachment to failure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it does seem like there's like no rhyme or reason sometimes about what is popular and what isn't.
Yeah, which can make you crazy.
Yeah.
But if you let go from having to have control over it,
correct,
then it can be a little bit more fun. Is there, last question before we give you a gift for being a guest on the podcast, is there a video concept or a project that you haven't done yet that's like a dream for you to do, that's like either in the works or something that's like, I've been wanting to do a video about this forever and we just haven't done it?
I have many.
You were saying that you write too much.
I write too much. I think too much. We've got a docket of, I don't even know how many ideas I've had that, I'm just waiting to write. There's a series that some people really love that I would like to continue. It's called Late to the Party with Mayim.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I had to pick one thing that I would want my YouTube channel to be, I would just do Late to the Party because I'm a person that wasn't allowed to see a lot of movies. My parents were very strict when I was younger. So there's a lot of movies I've never seen. There's a lot of foods I've never eaten.
Yeah.
I've never seen Friends. I've never seen Gilmore Girls. I've never seen Melrose Place. Like I've never seen Sex and the City. So like
this is great.
Am I right?
Yeah.
And I keep saying
you got to develop that series out.
And I did I had never seen The Little Mermaid. And I made a video that I loved so much about like, oh my God, she can't speak and he has to fall in love with her? That's crazy. Like,
especially all these like Disney children's movies.
Exactly. Some of them are crazy.
They're insane. And you're just, as a young child, supposed to believe and understand that this is just what happens.
So this is what I think would be, I think it's hilarious because if I were someone like who had never, had said like, you've never seen Star Wars, like that's what it's like.
Yeah.
I've never seen Top Gun. We need to make that video.
You guys got to do this. I'm an advocate of it.
She says so.
I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes to this dress. Well, Mayim, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
We give everyone a personalized fortune cookie for being a guest and and giving us your time.
Okay.
And you're welcome to open it.
Don't feel like you have to eat the cookie.
Yeah.
Is
they're
it
a little.
vegan?
They're a little stale.
Oh, some of them have eggs, some of them don't.
Oh,
but
it
we'll
is
just leave
vegan.
it there.
Ooh.
Oh, it is vegan.
Oh, hey now. Oh, it's long. Much longer than when I go have Chinese food. Wait, oh, don't make me cry. Do I have to read it out loud?
Yeah, you don't have to. You can keep it for yourself.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. Thank you for being here.
That's going to go on the fridge.
Yay! So if people don't know, where can they find your channel? When will they be able to get the new book?
Okay, the new book. Well, you can get the new book. There's already an Amazon.
You can pre-order.
Pre-order it. What a great
Amazing.
thing to do.
Mhm.
Great Father's Day gift for the
There you go.
people in your life. Yeah, it is already available. It comes out in May 7th, I believe.
Great.
My website is groknation.com,
Great.
which is awesome and fun. Let's see. I'm Miss Mayim on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm Mayim Bialik on Facebook. Yes, it's me. What else? YouTube is just Mayim Bialik.
Great.
Not all the other videos about Mayim Bialik.
Right.
Did I cover everything?
Got them all.
Yeah, that's it.
Go check it out if you haven't already. And we're going to shoot a video that's going to go up on our YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go sneak a peek at it. And we'll see you guys next time on another episode of Not Too Deep. Goodbye.
Too deep, too deep, too deep, not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Not Too Deep is a production of Grace Helbig Incorporated.
Produced and directed by Jack Ferry.
Producer Melissa D. Mons.
With writing by Diane Kang. Audio support by Chris Henry.
Editing by Melissa D. Mons.
And an extra special thank you to Flula for the theme music.